Are we already in the control room?
Yeah, all set. Thanks.
Okay, Chair, we're ready to go when you are.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Calling the meeting to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm sorry, Chair. If we could please first have instructions on how the public might access Spanish interpretation.
That's right. Before we call this meeting to order, we will hear introduction on how the public may access Spanish interpretation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The following message will repeat in Spanish. We are offering live interpretation in Spanish via our Zoom platform. To access our Spanish channel, press the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen, where you will see a globe icon and choose Spanish. If you're joining Zoom smartphone app, select your language by clicking More or the three dots at the bottom of your screen, select Language Interpretation and choose Spanish. Estamos ofreciendo interpretación en español en vivo y en directo durante esta sesión en nuestra plataforma Zoom. Para tener acceso a interpretación, oprima el icono del globo terráqueo al pie de su pantalla y seleccione Spanish. Si está uniéndose a nosotros vía Zoom en su teléfono inteligente, seleccione los tres puntitos al pie y a la derecha de su pantalla Zoom. Elija Interpretación de idiomas y presione Spanish. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Back to you, Madam.
Thank you very much. And now let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we have Commissioner Spiel.
Hello. I'm participating remotely today under the Just Cause provision of the Brown Act because I'm sick with a potentially contagious illness.
And Mr. Spiel, are there any persons in the room over the age of 18 with you, and what's the nature of your relationship?
There's nobody in the room with me.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Howard. Present. Commissioner Roberts.
Present.
Vice Chair Feiger.
Here.
Chair Voracek.
Here.
All present. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to public communications. This is the public's opportunity to speak on any topic which is not listed in today's agenda. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. And in accordance with the Brown Act, the Planning Commission cannot deliberate or vote on any matter raised under public communications, but may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak during this time? Seeing no one, let's open it up for either Zoom or calls.
No, we have no outside participants at this time.
All right, thank you. We will close public comment and move to our consent agenda. And once again, we will start with public comment on the consent agenda, which is the public's opportunity to speak on this item. Seeing no one in the audience, let's open it for Zoom and calls.
Still no one participating via Zoom, Chair.
All righty, then let's bring it back to the commission. Do we have any discussion or do we have a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Okay, I'll take the roll call vote. Let's see, Commissioner Spiel,
Aye.
Commissioner Howard,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Feiger,
Aye.
Chair Voracek.
Aye.
That motion unanimously carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this point, I will go ahead and recuse myself due to an employment conflict and let Gavin take over.
All right, so we have the staff report from Mr. Hitchcock, correct?
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. For the record, John Hitchcock, Planning Manager for the city. The agenda before you for consideration today is the Muller redevelopment project. Is a major design review and a special use permit. The application was submitted by Mr. Stephen Muller. The project is located at 2629 and 2635 Lake Tahoe Boulevard. The site was previously an auto repair service. As you may recall, you've lived here quite some time. I believe it was Lily's Tires, and there's also associated warehouse on the site. The applicant is proposing to convert the previous retail warehouse to a mix of auto service, contract construction services, professional offices, and also incorporating 2 multifamily residential units. The project is located in Plan Area Statement 103. This is Sierra Track Commercial. Multifamily, auto repair, construction services are special uses in this Plan Area Statement. Professional office use is allowed by right. Multifamily is permitted at a density of 15 units per acre. The existing barn-like structure, which is the warehouse, which is located on 2629 Lake Tahoe Boulevard, will be remodeled and rehabilitated within its current configuration and will be used as a contract construction services use and on the ground floor, and then 2 residential units on the second floor. The existing structure at 2635 Lake Tahoe Boulevard is a 1-story structure, and that will be remodeled. It was previously an auto repair service. It previously had an auto repair service office in the front, which will be demolished and reconstructed into a professional office building. The rear of the building will be remodeled within its current configuration, will continue to be used as auto repair services. Both structures will incorporate architectural treatments to improve its overall design, which includes adding new roof pitches, increasing fenestration on the facades that face Lake Tahoe Boulevard, creating facade modulations and overhangs to create visual interest, and incorporating natural appearing materials and colors on the structures. These elements are consistent with the citywide design standards as well as our design guidelines. The changes are also consistent with the recommendations outlined in the TRPA Scenic Quality Improvement Program, which is also called the SQIP. The site also will include improvements that include new landscaping, installing BMPs to treat all runoff on site, and then the project will also incorporate a new sidewalk that connects the existing sidewalk Lake Tahoe Boulevard to Sussex Avenue. All the coverage on site's been verified by TRPA. The project does not create new coverage, actually reduces coverage, and I believe a little over 3,300 square feet of coverage will be banked. All the CFA has also been verified by TRPA, and no new commercial floor area will be required for this project. The project is surrounded primarily by other commercial uses on site and with a residential neighborhood, Highland Woods, to the north. To meet the city's parking requirement, a permit condition requires the applicant to revise the site plan to add a driveway between the 2 parcels and record a reciprocal access agreement, thus meeting the city's parking requirements, which requires 21. With the reciprocal parking agreement, there'll be 22 spaces available for both properties. In addition, applicants also proposing to install 8 bicycle parking stalls. Staff has reviewed the special use findings and find that the proposed project is desirable on the specific parcel since it will result in redevelopment and improvement of existing commercial site with updated structures, water quality improvements, and scenic and community character improvements. The project will not be injurious to the neighborhood since it will not change the basic commercial use of the site, and the improvements such as water quality and scenic improvements will benefit the neighborhood. The proposed project is consistent with the adopted Plan Area Statement that permits such uses and also that that Plan Area Statement targets this area for scenic restoration. The proposed project is also located in Airport Safety Zone 4, and the project must be found to be compatible with the Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan. The plan is designed to ensure that non-compatible uses are not constructed and limits the intensity of uses under the flight path. Per the compatibility plan, the proposed uses are compatible and are permitted. The finding you have to make for non-residential uses is the maximum let me change that. For the non-residential uses, the maximum intensity permitted on site is 99 persons at one time. Per the building code, the maximum occupancy for the project site is 60 persons at one time. Thus, the non-residential uses are compatible with the compatibility plan. The residential uses are required to meet the compatibility plan's infill findings. The project will result in 2 residential units at 5.5 units per acre, which is consistent with the adopted Plan Area Statement, and also inconsistent with adjacent residential density of Highland Woods neighborhood, which is 7.7 units per acre. This, the residential uses are compatible with the plan. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission pass a resolution finding the project is category exempt from SEQA pursuant to Section 15302, Class 2, which is for replacement and reconstruction, and also Section 15332, Class 32, which is for infill projects, and making all additional findings listed in the resolution, approve the major design review and special use permit, make the TRPA finding of no significant effect, and approve the TRPA permits. And with that, my presentation is concluded, and we do have Ben Fagan, the architect, is here, if we have any questions specific about the design itself. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Any clarifying questions from commissioners? No? I had one question. I didn't see, how big are the residential units? Are they 1 or 2 bedroom? I thought I saw it in there, but I'm not seeing it now.
I can look at it very quickly here.
Or maybe the architect might know.
Can you, Ben?
There's one bedroom.
All the way up
to the
microphone so that we can capture you on.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
There's one bedroom unit and one 2-bedroom unit. They both have access by elevator as well as stairs, and there is also bicycle parking for those folks. It's private and safe and secure.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
You have a question from Commissioner Spiel.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a few clarifying questions. Maybe the applicant, if I could ask him to answer them, please. First of all, I just want to kind of celebrate this mixed-use project. I think this is exactly the kind of combination of retail and housing space that we would love to see more of. And I know that there's often, people cite regulatory burdens as a reason why they might not be doing that. Could you speak to whether there was any sort of like regulatory burdens that you butted up against as you were designing this project?
I'm going to look that way and talk this way. On the onset, I originally wanted to build a karate studio for the children in the community, but the airplane clat was something I was unfamiliar with. So it wasn't necessarily butting up against something, it was just me not knowing that was part of due diligence. This kind of happened organically, and I'm real excited about it. I've been here since 1995 looking at that building. So.
Got it, thank you. One that I seem to notice in some of the staff report was about the determination of how many parking spots to build. Could you talk through what your process was for sort of through design, how you chose how many parking spots you wanted to build?
Well, we're trying to obviously satisfy all the requirements of you folks here at the community, and we came up a little bit short on the side where Pete Lilly used to do the actual repairing of the tires, of putting the tires on and off. I wanted the building to have some type of purpose, the capability to possibly employ, and it seemed to me that a tire shop or a repair shop was just a lot of work and maybe more than I wanted to take on as a builder. Whereas we decided a detail shop that worked mostly by appointment would be real satisfying to the number of spots that's there versus the number of spots the city in their overall plan and a general rule might require. So I think it's going to work out really, really well, and I don't think it's going to be any issue.
The reason I was asking is because it seemed like you initially proposed a certain number of spots and then the city required you to build more than you had originally intended. And I was wondering if that causes any extra cost for you or anything like that.
Kind of like the first answer. Again, my doing. Originally, I was willing to just have that space back there to house my car collection, in which case I wouldn't need to have those parking spots. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, no, the building needs to have a purpose. It needs to be able to employ if possible. Whether it does right away or not, I thought it was just a real important part of the licensing purpose process. So I asked the folks that are working for me to go ahead and change things up and give that building a purpose. And from what I understand at that point, I was now needing extra spots that weren't needed before. So again, I think that's something I brought to the table.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question is about sidewalks. I was very pleased to notice that a part of this project includes adding a sidewalk along Rubicon Avenue. have you considered adding a sidewalk along Sussex Avenue, the sort of bike route along the back behind the property?
Not considered at this point, but my object here is to make that corner just, really special. I hope to have electric vehicle charging and things like that offered, so that would really fit into what I want to do. I can tell you right now, I've given an easement to California Department of Transportation, and they're going to be bringing in some really nice lighting. I don't have pictures of it, but it's on their site. So there's going to be some nice lighting that's going to be brought in right in front of the building, and we've kind of worked that out with those folks, so that's going to look prettier. And yeah, I'd be open in the future to, put sidewalk there, something pretty. It's going to be pretty for sure. I don't know. Are you allowed to put sidewalk there? I don't think that'd be like more coverage. I don't want to open a can of worms. So.
Good point. I think my last question for you is about bike racks. I'm really pleased to see you were talking about installing bike parking. Can you tell me where on the project site you were planning to put those?
So if you're familiar with the building, there's almost, for lack of a better words, an alleyway that goes through. One of the bike parkings is going to be halfway through the alleyway, back on what would be the old car repair center, and I believe that's 4 stations right there. The other one's going to be more on the first building on the corner, and more right up on the street, actually, in the front of the building. There's going to be 4 stations there. And then the third one, which really isn't listed in here, I don't know why, but that's actually going to be in the lobby for the 2 residents. They're going to be utilizing those properties. So there's actually 3 in total. So 1 down the alley, 1 in the very front, 1 in the lobby, going into the construction services building by the elevator.
Oh, fantastic. That's really good to hear that there's quite a few different options, indoor for residents. I'm sure that'll be really appreciated. Maybe one comment I could just make is that street behind the property, Sussex Avenue, is a really popular bike route. It connects to the South Tahoe Bikeway, and a lot of people bike by there. And so, if people are arriving by bicycle, they might be coming more from the rear, from Sussex Avenue, rather than from Highway 50. And so, just making sure that those bike racks are visible and easy to access from the rear seems like a great idea.
I might even go to add a third, because I understand what you're talking about. I understand that actual bike route where it's going to bump through those 2 lots in that little neighborhood right there. I'm sure originally you'd think it would be on the front street, but yeah, I get what you're talking about.
Cool, thank you.
No problem.
And I have a question for Mr. Hitchcock, please. Thank you. I was looking in the staff report and I noticed that there was a VMT analysis that indicated there was an increase in VMT from 319 to 423. There was also a change in parking requirements, or I guess planned number of parking spots. Was this VMT analysis conducted before or after we changed the number of parking spots?
So VMT and there's no correlation between VMT and parking spots. VMT is based on trips, and that's based on gross square footage of the proposed uses. And so, regardless of how many parking spots they have, it wouldn't affect the VMT calculations.
It seems like a kind of obvious deficiency in the VMT algorithm, because it seems pretty clear that more parking spots definitely causes more VMT, but I get that there's limitations to algorithms.
Yeah, the VMTs, it's a TRPA standard, and so we're applying the standard as TRPA has adopted, which is based on gross floor area of a use, which then determines how many vehicle trips are created, which is then multiplied by the average trip length for that particular transportation zone.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I also noticed that the applicant is paying a mitigation fee for this additional VMT that is introduced here, and it seems like the residential unit of use contributes about 50 VMT, and the commercial use contributes 50 VMT. So they both sort of contribute roughly the same amount to the additional VMT here. But the mitigation fee is about $10,000 for the residential use and $1,000 for the commercial use. Was I understanding that right?
Let's see here. I think we didn't break it down. Generally, residential uses will generally, let me see. Projects. So the residential uses generates less VMT, but the VMT fee for residential use is higher than the VMT fee for commercial use, I believe.
What is the VMT fee for each?
There, go on, you want to say?
So, question for you, John. Is it also related to the fact that there was already commercial on the site?
Correct.
And that the residential units are a brand-new use to the
Correct.
site?
I should have mentioned that. Thank you, Ms. Rowe, for bringing that up. Commissioner Spiel, so for the commercial uses, because there were commercial uses already there on the site, TRPA allows you to take credit for those. So certain, if a use is existing on site, then you don't have to pay VMT fees unless that particular use hasn't existed for over 5 years. The residential uses are brand new uses being introduced to the site, thus they trigger the VMT fee.
I think I understand that, but that doesn't seem quite the same as what I'm seeing here in the staff report on page 8. There is a section titled Vehicle Miles Traveled, VMTs, and it says that the previous use generated 319 VMT. And so, of course, yes, that makes sense that there's no mitigation fee for the previous use that would have already been paid. That's fine. But then there's additional, 50 extra VMT from the commercial use and a fee of $1,177 for that increased commercial use. And then there's also 50 VMT of residential use with a mitigation fee of $10,000. Am I understanding that right?
No, the total mitigation fee is is a little over $10,000. $9,800 of that is for the 2 new residential uses that creates 50 VMTs. And then the 1,177 is for the increase from the commercial trips.
So it just seems to me here like this expansion of commercial use and the expansion of residential use are creating the same amount of VMT, but the mitigation fee is 10 times the price.
That's correct, because the VMT fee per, TRP has different VMT fees for different types of uses. It's not a flat rate it's not a flat rate. There's a different VMT fee for commercial uses and there's a different VMT fee for residential uses. Thus the difference between the two.
And that's a TRPA policy rather than a city policy?
Yeah, it's not a city policy. VMT fees are collected for TRPA. The city collects the VMT fees on behalf of TRPA. Those VMT fees are then sent to TRPA for projects for transportation and air quality improvement projects.
Got it. Thank you. Well, I think that's just maybe something worth for city staff to notice and for maybe the fellow commissioners to notice, although of course it is a TRPA policy that they're, charging these fees at 10 times the rate for residential use makes it seems like it's a strong disincentive to residential development. But thank you very much for clearing that up for me.
What,
No more
You're welcome.
questions.
one more clarifying. So this is not in a town center, correct? And the VMT fees are very different inside and outside of town centers?
That's correct. This is not a town center.
Right.
VMT fees that are non-town center tend to be higher.
Correct, thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah, John, I'm assuming that this is going to be in the Midtown plan that's coming up soon, this location. I just want to make sure the landscaping, it says there's nothing submitted thus far, but I just want to make sure that they had plans to match that to any of the landscaping designs that might be included in the new Midtown Center, Midtown plan.
Well, they are, yes, the site is included in an area that's going to be part of the Midtown Area Plan, and that process, we will be developing landscape design standards for that particular area plan. This project is moving forward on a faster track, and so we're going to evaluate their landscape plan based on the standards we have on the books today.
Okay, I also had that silly question for the contractor.
Yes.
Or the owner, I'm not sure, but the page 17 of your of the plan description, of the project description plan. It's what is a badass bathroom?
Oh my God, I can't believe they put that in there. Those are the words I used. I've built some homes here, built myself some beautiful homes in the community, and it's a process. You get to meet one person, they're going to give you a piece of the puzzle, and you're going to get to another person, they're going to give you a piece of the puzzle, and another person's going to give you a piece of the puzzle. We're trying to bring that puzzle back together here with our construction services, as you've labeled us, and actually what we're going to name it. I want the restrooms to be demonstrative of what a client could expect on a lakefront build. So they'll walk in, they may see some beautiful backlit granite, things that you would not normally see in a public restroom up and down Highway 50. And just want them to enjoy that experience and see what's possible. So that is a wonderfully exquisite bathroom.
Okay, thank you.
You're so welcome.
Anything else, commissioners? All right, should we move to public comment?
Sorry, I had one extra question.
Oh, sorry about that, Nick.
I wanted to ask about the density being used, and this is probably a question for Mr. Hitchcock. Can you speak to the, I guess a discussion around like what the residential densities were here compared to the limits?
Well, the density analysis, so first of all, the project as proposed meets the minimum, meets the density standard, which allows up to 15 dwelling units per acre. The density analysis in the staff report and for this project is required in order to make a finding that the residential uses can be approved since it's located in a airport air flight overlay zone number 4. And so the finding we had to make is that by doing the infill development, that it was consistent with the surrounding density of other residential uses. In this case, we evaluated against the adjacent residential neighborhood, which is Highland Woods. And the density, the calc density in that area is 7.7 units per acre. This project is 5.5, which is less than the 7.7, thus is found to be compatible per the compatibility plan. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you. And so there are 2 housing units on this project.
Correct.
If there were 3, it sounds like it would be over that threshold and therefore not compatible. Is that correct?
I didn't do that analysis, but there is that potential once you add additional units and you start exceeding kind of the surrounding density standards, then I wouldn't say it's not permissible, you would have to reduce the number of units potentially.
Yeah, but I was talking about increasing the number of units, right? Like we're at 2 here. If you change that to 3, presumably that would increase the density by 50%, right? From 2 to 3. And we're pretty close to the limit. And so I just wanted to kind of make an observation, especially for my fellow commissioners to notice that our density limits are so ridiculous that you can't build 3 units of mixed use along the highway. That would be not allowed under current regulation.
Well, the issue with this property is because it's under Zone 4, which is a narrow overflight zone. Outside of this Zone 4, you can go up to the density max of 15 units per acre. It's just in this zone, I shouldn't say unfortunately, this zone happens to be under the glide path of the airport.
Got it. Good prioritization of private jets. That's interesting. Okay, thank you for that information. No more questions.
You're welcome.
Okay, not seeing any other questions from commissioners. Public comment? Ms. Blankenship, should we do in the room first? Yeah. Anybody want to make a public comment on this agenda item? Do we have anybody online?
No, sir.
Great. In that case, we'll bring it back to commission for any discussion or entertain a motion. Anybody? Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say that this looks really good. It's not that often that we see projects come in going above and beyond, providing housing we don't need to, providing that sidewalk that's going to be great. The landscaping and design are going to. I mean, that corner is. I go by there every day. it's going to be a lot nicer. So thank you for your attention to detail and the extra cost and effort. This looks like a really good project and type of thing that personally I would like to see more of. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, as much as I hated to see Lily's leave, but it certainly is a neglected part of town, and it'd be nice to see it livened up and prettied up.
We love Pete. Yeah. We'll miss him too.
Mr. Spiel, any discussion?
Maybe, Mr. Hitchcock, I wonder if I could follow up with you about that density discussion, because I'm looking at the staff report on page 3. There's a section titled Density, and it reads, the maximum residential density in the PAS 103 zoning district is 15 dwelling units per acre. Based on the parcel size and TRPA's mixed-use density formula, the applicant would be permitted to develop at a density of 7.7 units per acre. But that says nothing about the airport. And so I was just wondering if this density is limited by the airport or by PAS 103 zoning district.
In this case, it's limited by the Airport Overlay Zone 4.
I see. So, but as it states here, it's got the same limit, or approximately the same unit, 7.7 units per acre by this other zoning district as well?
Well, I think what that says is that if, one second, let me get to that section.
Page 3 of the staff report.
John, I think what Mr. Spiel is referring to is the discussion about the allowable density under the plenary statement.
Correct.
Which is the base zoning for this property.
Yeah.
Areas surrounding the airport, some of those areas where there are safety concerns with high concentrations of people in certain zones, those, the overlay that is described and adopted in the airport land use compatibility plan, often that will limit a project from being able to go up to the full density allowed in the base plenary statement zoning. But the rest of that plan area that's not in that safety zone would be able to go up to that 15 dwelling units per acre.
That's correct, Ms. Warwood. So if safety zone 4 did not exist, this property could go up to 5 units. But because of zone 4, there's a limiting factor.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much to both of you for clarifying that. That's really helpful. No more comments or discussion from me.
Okay, any final discussion, or anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we pass this resolution to, for Muller redevelopment project, major design review, special use permit.
I'll second.
I would suggest that you include additional language just as it's stated in the agenda.
All right, I make a motion that we pass the resolution. 1, finding the project is categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15302, class 2 replacement or reconstruction, and section 15332, class 32 infill, and making all additional findings listed in the resolution. 2, approving the major design review and special use permits. 3, making a TRPA finding of no significant effect. And 4, approving the TRPA permits.
I second the motion.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Commissioner Spiel?
Aye.
Commissioner Howard?
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Vice Chair Feiger?
Aye.
That motion carries.
All right, thank you. And thank you to the clients and developers and Mr. Hitchcock for all your answers.
Chair Viorchek can re-enter the room now?
Yeah, I was gonna, exactly,
Okay.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hillary.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome back, Chair. We'll pass it back to you.
Thanks. Very, very nice job. All right, that was the only item on our new business agenda today, so we will go ahead and move into updates and announcements from the staff.
Guess just quick ones. Your next meeting is scheduled for September 21st. We do expect a pretty full agenda, so if for some reason you feel you're not going to be able to attend, please let us know so we can adjust accordingly. And of interest, next Tuesday, the City Council is going to be holding their budget workshop. Budget is a pretty significant part of their decision-making activities, so if you would like to tune in and watch that, it'll be at 9 a.m. here in the council chambers, also on Zoom.
Thank you very much. Any others? Yep.
I have nothing to report today.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, let's go into planning commissioner reports and comments. Does anybody have anything they wanted to let us know about? No? We are adjourned.
Wait, I'm sorry, Mr. Spiel does have his hand raised.
Okay. Sorry.
Mr.
Nick.
Spiel.
Thank you. Just a quick announcement. I just wanted to say that I have founded with a partner a nonprofit in the community called Locals for Affordable Housing. And we're advocating for affordable housing in the South Lake Tahoe community. And we're hosting an event on September 13th where we will be screening, we'll be doing a film screening about housing in Tahoe at South of North Brewing, September 13th. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you very much. And with that, we are adjourned.